Well, you demanded it, so here it is, my newest cosplay video. I present to you, Moon Knight! Just kidding, less people care about that guy than Deadpool in 2008. We'll make you extremely mainstream and overexposed to the mass media one day, Spectre. One day. For now though, even though I struggle like hell not to be a Spider-Man channel, you just keep pulling me back in. So let's get down to it. Y'all want to know about a man named Riley. Ben Reilly is the less well-off clone of Spider-Man that made everyone very angry in the 90s for being a dumb concept. He lived in squalor and made a costume for himself with like $50, so I've affectionately named this one Grunge Rock Hobo Spider-Man. For those who suffered through my last two cosplay tutorials, you know the drill by now. Get our usual supplies ready. Red morph suit, separate mask, fabric glue, that stuff you put on the edges of cloth after cutting it so it doesn't fray like crazy, and probably some alcohol to ease the troubled soul of your emotionally distraught mother who has to constantly help you with these god-awful cosplay projects at the expense of her free time and sanity. Usual supplies. So for the red suit you just... Oh, well geez, that's pretty easy then. You don't have to do anything, this design is so simple. Just put it on and it's ready. Wow, that's a lot of steps removed from that other crap. Good thing I didn't pick Kane's suit or I'd have to color the entire head and shoulders in black paint while wearing it. So the next step is to take a blue hoodie provided by your uncle in a scenario in which he was like, hey, here's a bunch of clothes that don't fit me anymore. I brought them in several large trash bags so you could maybe use some of it for a cosplay or something. And then you respond accordingly with, but Drew, I can only use maybe 2 articles of clothing in here for something. The rest are just taking up a ton of space and you clearly found it easier to just dump all this on me instead of driving a few extra minutes to the local Goodwill, you lazy punk. And he'll be like, yeah, basically. Make sure you say all of that to the very letter. If either you or your uncle mispronounce a word, the costume won't work. Anyway, at least I got the blue hoodie. But as it turns out, there's a bit of a scaling difference between my uncle and I due to my faulty Irish genetics that spilled into my bloodline at some point in the last few centuries of heritage. As such, I gotta modify this hoodie a bit to get it to look right. First I cut it in half so it could have that grungy 90s Bill and Ted crop top look, because skater culture and heavy metal became big motifs when Todd and Rob took the industry by storm and indirectly almost bankrupted Marvel. Tubular to the max, bro! So you pin parts of the hoodie together to make it fit a little smaller, sew it together with the trusty sewing machine you probably stole, and then cut the excess fabric out near the seams that you've created. Now, of course, a lot of clothes have these darn brand logos on them so you'll know which Middle Eastern sweatshop put it together 20 years later. This one isn't a decal or printed on or something easy. This thing is intricately woven into the fabric and requires a ton of effort to remove. Thus, you get a thing called a stitch ripper and stips and riches. I can't remember if I'm recalling the process I did or instructing you to do these things anymore. So the language changes every other sentence even though no one will care or notice except me. Hey, for all of you whiny technology age kids that got offended by my use of a camera from 2009. I used all of my graduation money to buy a 4K camera so you'd stop telling me I recorded all of these on a potato. I could have used that money to buy food, but I used it to please you resolution-obsessed basket cases. The video compression on YouTube sucks anyway, so you can't even tell it's 4K, so like, who cares about anything? Life is meaningless. Now, you can apply the spider logo with a marker by freehanding it, but I wanted to be a little more thorough and make sure it was just right. I printed one out from Google Image Search and cut it out of a piece of flimsy cardboard with an X-Acto knife. Step 11. Once you've created a stencil for your logo in completely inappropriate conditions, come to the realization that you've made a giant mistake. Uh-oh. Step 14. Stir the red velvet mix in a bowl until it's finally nice and viscous. Place the mix into separate sections of a cupcake sheet and bake at 450 degrees. Once you've stayed up until 5 a.m. on a school night making apology cupcakes for your mother after carving a giant spider logo into her expensive kitchen table, you're ready to paint the hoodie. I found this nice black fabric paint at that store for old ladies that I always look weird hanging out in. Whoa, demonetized. Sorry everyone, I didn't know this paint brand was racist. Expect a half-hearted apology video in 2 to 3 business days. So I kept the stencil firmly in place on the hoodie and used a paintbrush to apply it. No more of that spray paint stuff, I'm done with that noise. Thankfully the hoodie was thick enough that the paint didn't bleed through. It also dried rather quickly. This stuff's great. And now you're done. Oh wait, yeah, accessories so we can sell more toys. Got it. Making Ben Reilly's web shooters can go a number of ways. I took some elastic and a belt from Walmart to do the next step. I used some silver puff paint to coat the elastic after cutting it to fit snugly around my wrist. The paint makes it pretty rigid, but it'll still stretch. Attach them together at both ends with the sewing machine. For the web cartridges, I bought a huge pack of Nerf darts and spray painted them. Most people will tell you to wear protective gear over your mouth and eyes during spray painting, but I can't afford any of that stuff, so I just try not to inhale too much paint. Sometimes the air coming out of the can pushes the darts too hard and they roll away because they're made of super light foam. It's very annoying. I used this straw from a soda from Arby's to prod the darts around and rotate them without touching the paint with my hands, which gave me the idea to make it the nozzle on the web shooter. There's like a red dot thingy on the belt buckle, so I made a stencil the size of a quarter to paint it on there. I tried to use fabric paint on metal at first like a complete idiot, and then it bled through the masking tape. Ah, god damn it. Then I meticulously scrubbed all the paint off to try it again. Why does Ben Reilly have a red button on his belt buckle, you may ask? No reason. That's just the way they drew him. Sometimes it's not even there. Alright, hot glue the web cartridges on the belt and the elastic. Don't burn yourself, not that you listen to anything I say. Okay, now for the big important part, the mask. From what I can tell, Rilo Ben's mask always has way bigger lenses than his counterpart. I took my friend Andre's advice in order to pair these pre-made ones to use for a Miles Morales suit. Let's pick up our trusty spandex rag and get ready to mangle it in the name of cosplay. These new lenses are made of like plastic and plywood or something, so don't drill any holes in them. Just be very thorough about gluing them. Well, the mask is kind of shaped weird now because these lenses stretch it in such an odd way. Now the outline of my mouth is super easy to see, just like Jen Miley's other terrible costume that he got rid of immediately because it sucked so bad. I also think I kind of screwed up with the mask because there's no space between my eyes and the lenses, so it's like hard to blink. It's touching my eyeball. Note to self, stick with what you know, never experiment. Not gonna lie, I don't really recommend these lenses. I'm not happy enough with the look to justify the difficulty of working with them. But if you can figure out a way to make it look good, then give it a try. Well, that was, much like the character itself, underwhelming. Let's spice this one up a little and do another one. This costume video is going into overtime. Since the theme of today is people that have no discernible differences from Peter Parker in any way, here's an unrelated picture of Miles Morales. Oh, I'm just kidding, he's alright. I actually like his costume more than Peter Parker's because of the red and black color scheme. So let's give that a shot.
But Xavier, you can't cosplay a character who doesn't have the same skin color as you, even though no skin is visible in the cosplay. That's racist! Oh, I'm sorry, small child. Turns out you're not allowed to like or enjoy things that look different from you. This character wasn't made for you. You're going to have to wear the politically correct Spider-Man costume. Excuse me, sir, but that costume is for a character that looks different. I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to change.
You know, I hate this awful world for making me get political, but one of you schmucks was gonna bring it up if I didn't address it. Ugh. Anyway. While I did most of the heavy lifting on the last one, this suit will have to rely heavily on the help of my tired and disenfranchised assistant, from whom's loins my cursed existence spawned. Since I don't have a mannequin, let alone one in my size, all the painting work will have to be while I'm wearing the damn thing again. So for the big red stripes, masking tape and fabric paint will do you fine. Thankfully it's not as complex a pattern as that other nightmare, so the lines on this one are really straight and the paint is kinda glossy. If you were making a Spider-Man Homecoming cosplay, I'd recommend using this method for all those extraneous black lines. After that, just kind of wing it on the webs, they're kind of hard to screw up. Plus, with the paint being applied like frosting to a cake, it has this 3D effect to it that looks better than just drawing it with markers. Of course, I recommend doing a rough draft of them with like a Sharpie or something first, then you can just kind of print out the logo. Trace the outline of it and go nuts. The paint is of course going to be on you for like 3 weeks, but the results are pretty cool. I watched Point Break with David for an episode of his show Couch Potatoes while doing the webs on the back. You might see that video at some point in the next 3 years. The mask should be easy, we made a ton of these by now in other videos. For more on that, go check these out. I had a friend paint them red for me with probably spray paint or whatever. I didn't really ask questions, I just sort of rolled up to his house in the middle of the night and he ran them out to me on the street like it was some kind of drug deal. So I don't really know what he did to them. Oh yeah, put some masking tape over the shiny part first. So now you got a mask with red outlines on the thing. Thankfully a foam mannequin head is actually pretty easy to find, so no red grid on my face today. Just do it how you did the body, silver lines first, red lines second. Should go okay. Be sure to use an action figure as a reference so you know how the pattern is meant to fit over a three-dimensional object. Some artists have a tendency to cut corners or draw it in a way that's not honest to how it would really look, so you can't trust every picture you get on Google image search. For the logo on the back, I wanted to try something a little different. We painted the pattern out on a piece of parchment paper that was partially translucent, then let it dry overnight. The thing peeled off surprisingly easily and was totally intact at the end. The paint was even strong enough that you could tug on it and stretch it a little and the logo wouldn't tear. So we glued that onto the back with rubber cement, which actually burns like crazy, so just use fabric glue. The fingers were pretty easy, just paint them with a spongy brush. I have really long fingers though, so I had to wear it to tape off the parts correctly because the fabric needs to stretch the right way. So then, yeah, I guess that's it. Alright, enjoy going as Miles for conventions. Just remember not to take the mask off if your complexion matches mine, because you'll probably get some dirty looks. Maybe from now on I should diversify my cosplays a little more. For every 6 Spider-Man suits, I have like 1 Moon Knight. How about you fellas in the comments tell me about some non-Spider-Man characters I could also make cosplays for. In the meantime, I gotta get me a plate of chicken wings.
Hey, what the hell are you doing out here? I'm Nick Fury, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm here to tell you about the Avengers Initiative. I don't remember Nick Fury being a member of the Backstreet Boys, Captain Crop Top. Well, you know, dog, I'm just picking up some dank-ass chicken wings, Holmes. I got the munchies like a motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? Full cheesy, man, easy. It ain't easy peeing cheese. Hey, don't distract me with my love of ebonics. Who are you, extremely white person?
Well, Xavier, it's time I told you the truth. You're my clone.
Shortly before we started this YouTube channel, you and I had a chance encounter that turned into combat. During our epic battle, we became swapped, unclear as to which of us was the real Xavier. After our first meeting, I assumed I was the clone and left to go live a life on the road, eating used sandwiches out of dumpsters in the city, while you became a Z-list internet celebrity. Any questions?
How do you use a sandwich without eating it? Also, if I'm the one who started a YouTube channel, aren't I the more, like, successful and interesting one? Why come back and ruin everything? Oh, well, I actually just show up here every couple of days to steal food from your freezer. Dick.
Halt! If you continue this conversation, you'll disrupt the time stream.
Who the hell are you?
I'm the half-Hispanic guy with the black and red costume and a father with a dark secret that takes your place after you die.
So, Miles?
Who? Howdy. Are you guys serious? Come on, this guy's a total knockoff. What's your deal? Oh, you know, the usual. Wealth and fame, I'm ignored. Action is my reward. What, you mean like the affirmative kind?
Whoa! Settle down there, Zimmerman 2099. Yeah, no need to go all white Hispanic on him over it. Why is everyone in the future so racist? I blame the writers.
I want to be exactly like that guy when I grow up. Like 100%, no deviations in personality at all. I'll make sure that doesn't happen, usurper! Kill them all! Only the one true Xavier can rule the YouTube channel.
I am the one true replacement and or original.
You're